Today we're going to talk about a circle graph. A circle graph is used to show how parts of the data are related to the whole. So first, let's talk about what the whole of the circle represents. The whole circle represents 100%, or if we want to think of it as degrees, the whole circle is 360 degrees. So when we draw a circle graph, we're going to separate the whole circle into parts, which are called sectors. So a sector is just simply each part of the circle. These sectors are going to have both percentages and degrees. So that's what we're going to work on. So let's try problem number 1. Let me give you some data. Here's our example. Complete a circle graph to compare ice cream flavor preferences. Chocolate received 15 votes, vanilla received 9 votes, and strawberry received 6 votes. So here you can see that I kept the data pretty simple so we could really focus on the process. I definitely recommend drawing a table to help as we make these calculations to find these sectors of our circle graph. So here's my table. You can see on the left-hand side, this left column, we have the labels chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. And then next comes the amounts, percentages, and then finally degrees. Because remember, we're breaking apart this whole circle. So we're breaking apart the 100% into different sectors. And then the 360 degrees, we're going to separate that into the different sectors. So first, very easily, let's fill in the amounts that were given. So for chocolate, it received 15 votes. Vanilla received 9 votes. And then strawberry received 6 votes. Quickly, we can come up with that total. 15 plus 9 plus 6 is 30. And that's very important that we find this total here. Next, let's find the percentages. A percentage is a part of a whole. So we need to find the percentage for chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. So let's do that by looking at the total. So chocolate received 15 votes out of the total, which was 30. So we're going to find the percentage for chocolate, you take 15, divide it by 30. Same thing for vanilla, 9 divided by 30. And then strawberry, 6 divided by 30, and that will give us the percentages. 15 over 30, hopefully you'll be able to see that that quickly reduces to 1/2, which would be 50%. Vanilla, not quite so easy. It does reduce. You can divide it both of these numbers by 3. So 3/10. You could always just do 9 divided by 30 in your calculator. That will give you 0.3 or 30%. And then finally 6 over 30, that also reduces. Divide both of those by 3. 2/15. Can do 2 divided by 15 in a calculator. You'll see that gives you that's 2/10 if I divide them both by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 30 divided by 3 is 10. My apologies. So there we go. That's much better. 2/10. That is the same thing as 20%. You can do 2 divided by 10 in the calculator if you're not sure, but that is pretty easy. 2 over 10 simply means 20%. One check here to see if you did that right is to find the total. Because remember, the whole circle should equal what as a percentage? 100%. So quickly I can see if I add this column together, 50 plus 30 plus 20% does indeed give me 100%. So that means I'm on the right track. Okay, so how do we translate these percentages into degrees? Remember that a whole circle is 360 degrees. So to find this last column here, we're going to take 360 and we're going to times them by these percentages written as decimals. So start with your 360 degrees. We're going to multiply it by 50% for chocolate, or 0.50. For vanilla, 360 degrees. The percentage was 30%, so times it by 0.30. For strawberry, 360 degrees times 20%, or 0.20. Well, 360 degrees times 0.50 is 180 degrees. So my sector for chocolate should be 180 degrees. Next, 360 times 0.30, or 0.3, is 108 degrees. And then lastly, 360 degrees times 0.20, or 0.2, is 72 degrees. Time for a quick check. Did we do this correctly? Well, our test is add those together, and it should give me 360 degrees. So add the numbers in this last column together. 180 plus 108 plus 72 indeed does give me 360 degrees. Next, we're ready, finally ready to create our circle graph. So go ahead and draw a circle. Okay, so here's my circle, and you can see I have this center point mark. That's very important. That's going to be our starting point. I also need to draw a starting radius and grab a protractor. Okay, so you need the starting radius here from the center point to this one of the sides of your to a side point of your circle, to a point on your circle. And then you can see I grabbed my protractor here. So we're going to take our protractor and line it up with that starting radius. Okay, so now I look for my chocolate, and it is 180 degrees, so I need to mark that using my protractor. So since my starting radius is here, this is going to be where 0 starts. So I'm going to look at these inside numbers here as I go around to 180 degrees, which is the full arc of my compass, and make a point there. It's going to be half of my circle, 50%, 180 degrees. So I connected that red dot with the center of my circle. So basically drew a diameter through my circle to represent 50%, or 180 degrees. So inside this first sector, we're going to write chocolate. %, since 50% or half of my votes were to chocolate. We do not write in 180 degrees. That's just to help us know where to make the marks for our circle graph. But the audience doesn't care about the degrees. They just want to see the percentages and the circle graph as a whole. Next, let's look at vanilla. So vanilla received 9 votes, which was 30% of my votes, which needs to be 108 degrees of my circle. So grab your protractor, flip it around. It needs to start off with the last point that we made here. So that's where 0 was going to start. So again, I'm looking at these inside numbers here. and I need to go out to 108 degrees. So following these numbers here, go to approximately 108 degrees, so 2 before 110, and make your mark. Then you connect that point. I'm going to make my point a little bit bigger. And right there for mine, connect that point to the center of your circle. Okay, so there I connected that point to my center of my circle. Let me get rid of some of these markings. And now in this sector, we need to write vanilla 30%. So vanilla, the vanilla flavor of my ice cream received 30% of the votes. This last sector, I don't even need to measure with my protractor. You could to double check that it is indeed 72 degrees. So here I move the protractor back over so we can indeed see that it is a 72 degree angle. 72 degree measure. Then inside, write strawberry. Do not write 72 degrees. You always write the percentages inside. So strawberry received 20% of my votes. Okay, so just to recap how we got these amounts here in our chart. These amounts just taken from our story problem: 15 votes to chocolate, 9 votes to vanilla, 6 votes to strawberry. Add them all together to find the total of 30. Next, we got the percentages. To find the percentages, 50%, 30%, and 20%. We took 15, divided it by the total, which was 30, to get 50%. 0.5, which is 50%. To get the 30%, take the 9, divide it by 30. You will get 0.3 or 30%. And to get that 20%, take the 6, divide it by the total, which was 30, and it'll give you 0.2 or 20%. And then finally, to get the degrees, the whole circle is 360 degrees. So you take 360 and times them by the percentages as a decimal. So 360 times 0.50 will give you 180. 360 times 0.30 will give you 108. And then finally 360 times 0.20 will give you 72 degrees. So I hope that helps on how to draw a circle graph.